Long-term implications for victims. The impact of deed fraud on victims can extend far beyond the immediate financial losses and legal battles. 1. Reputation damage. Reputation damage. For real estate professionals who fall victim to deed fraud, there can be significant damage to their professional reputation. This could lead to a loss of client trust and future business opportunities, which are critical in the real estate industry. Impact on real estate professionals. Real estate agents, brokers, and firms that fall victim to deed fraud may suffer severe reputational damage. If they are perceived as unable to secure their transactions, this can erode trust with current and potential clients. Long-term professional consequences. The loss of reputation can lead to decreased clientele, reduced referrals, and ultimately, a significant drop in business. For professionals whose livelihood depends on trust and reliability, rebuilding reputation can be a lengthy and challenging process. An illustrative example of how deed fraud can lead to reputation damage for real estate professionals is the case of Century 21 vs. Diamond, a fictitious case study based on common issues faced in real estate fraud cases. This example highlights how reputational damage can have serious long-term consequences for real estate professionals. Background. In this hypothetical case, Century 21, a well-known real estate agency, faced severe reputational damage when one of its agents was implicated in a deed fraud case. The agent was accused of knowingly facilitating the sale of a property with a forged deed, causing the buyer to lose a significant amount of money. Details of the case. Deed fraud discovery. The buyer discovered the fraud when they attempted to refinance the property and found discrepancies in the property's title history. Legal action. The buyer sued the agent and Century 21 for negligence and fraud. The case received considerable media attention, casting a shadow over the agency's operations and integrity. Court findings. The court found the agent liable for negligence and fraud. Although Century 21 was not found directly responsible, the association with the fraudulent transaction damaged its reputation. Implications for Century 21. Loss of client trust. The publicity surrounding the case led to a loss of trust among existing and potential clients who feared similar risks in their transactions. Decline in business. Following the incident, Century 21 experienced a noticeable decline in client engagements. Many potential clients chose to work with other agencies due to perceived security concerns. Long-term rebuilding efforts. The agency had to invest significantly in marketing and new compliance measures to rebuild trust and secure their transactions better. This included training for agents in fraud detection and the implementation of more rigorous checks in their transaction processes. Lessons and preventative measures. Enhanced training. Following the case, Century 21 implemented mandatory training for all its agents on recognizing and preventing deed fraud. Improved oversight. The agency introduced stricter oversight measures for transactions, including third-party verification of all documents related to property sales. Public relations campaigns. To restore its image, Century 21 conducted a series of public relations campaigns to highlight their new security measures and commitment to client protection. This fictional example illustrates the severe impact that involvement in deed fraud, whether direct or indirect, can have on a real estate professional's career and business. It underscores the importance of rigorous due diligence, continuous professional education, and robust internal controls to prevent fraud and protect the reputation of real estate businesses. Increase in insurance premiums. Insurance premiums. Victims of deed fraud may face higher premiums for title insurance if they are deemed to be at higher risk of fraud. This increase in operating costs can affect profitability and market competitiveness. Rising costs for victims. After experiencing deed fraud, individuals and businesses may be considered high risk by insurance companies. This risk assessment can lead to increased premiums for title insurance, which is essential for protecting against future incidents of fraud. Impact on profitability. For real estate professionals, higher insurance costs mean increased operating expenses. This can affect their competitive edge in the market, especially if they are forced to pass these costs on to their clients in the form of higher service fees. While specific court cases directly linking deed fraud to increased insurance premiums are not commonly detailed in public records, the phenomenon of rising insurance costs following fraud incidents is well documented in insurance and real estate circles. A conceptual understanding of how this situation typically unfolds can be illustrated through a hypothetical example based on common industry practices. Hypothetical example: Smith Real Estate Inc. Background: Smith Real Estate Inc. is a well-established real estate firm that fell victim to a sophisticated deed fraud scheme. Fraudsters successfully altered ownership documents of several properties listed by the firm, resulting in significant financial and reputational damage to both the property owners and Smith Real Estate. Impact on insurance premiums. 1. Risk reassessment by insurance providers. Following the fraud incident, the title insurance company reassessed Smith Real Estate Inc. as a higher-risk client. This reassessment is due to the perceived vulnerabilities in the firm's transaction processes that were exploited by the fraudsters. 2. Increase in title insurance premiums. As a result of the heightened risk profile, the insurance provider increased the premiums for title insurance for future transactions handled by Smith Real Estate. This is intended to cover the potentially greater risk of similar fraud occurring again. Financial consequences. 1. Increased operating expenses. The higher insurance premiums led to increased operating costs for Smith Real Estate. Since title insurance is a critical aspect of real estate transactions, opting out was not a viable option without risking further exposure to fraud. 2. Passing costs to clients. To manage these increased costs, Smith Real Estate was forced to raise service fees for their clients. This increase was necessary to maintain their business viability, but made their services less competitive compared to other firms with lower fees. Market competitiveness. Loss of competitive edge. The increase in service fees put Smith Real Estate at a competitive disadvantage. Potential clients began considering other firms with lower associated costs for similar services, leading to a decrease in market share for Smith Real Estate. Long-term business impact. The combination of increased operating costs and reduced competitiveness required Smith Real Estate to reassess their business strategies, including investing in better security measures and client education programs to restore trust and reduce future risks. This hypothetical example illustrates how an incident of deed fraud can lead to increased insurance premiums, impacting a real estate firm's financial health and market position. In reality, these scenarios underscore the need for stringent preventive measures and continuous review of transaction security practices to mitigate risks associated with real estate transactions.